Hello and welcome. The relatively small country of Jordan sits quietly in the heart of the Middle East, surrounded by turmoil. Some of it more recent, as in Iraq, while some of it dating back nearly 6 decades, as in the Israeli-Palestinian situation. Where does this leave the young generation of Jordan, which has seen a population changed over the years by a huge influx of Palestinians, and in the past 4 decades by a flood of Iraqi refugees? What sort of direction are they looking for from their leadership to ensure that security and economic growth sustains, while at the same time meeting the obligations that have been pushed upon them by the violent struggles on their doorstep? In this special edition of the show, we ask a panel of young Arabs here in Jordan, what does the future hold? Well, I want to welcome you all and thank you for joining us for this debate. I've got to kick off by asking you what you think of the situation here in Jordan right now, and I guess in the Arab world. But Mamoun, if I could start with you and ask you how you feel things are in Jordan right now. Is the country going the way you would like it to be going?
Well, you know, Jordan is a small country, and with all the conflicts around us, all the war, the fightings, everything, we need to have some kind of behavior we have so we can approach what we're going to, what we're looking forward to. Jordan have, as you said, so many refugees in different years, starting with 1948 and 1967, 1990, and then 2003. Well, this affects Jordan when you have like 500,000 people move suddenly to Jordan, which is a small country with no oil, no raw materials, all this. So you have to meet these. This is our own conflict became. This conflict, you know, charged us to be more competitive with others, right. To start to build yourself the way it should be. Jordan suffered a lot. We have economically suffered a lot.
We'll look at some of those things. I'll ask you to pass the microphone to Luma, please. And Luma, the things that Mamoun was talking about just now, how much do you feel them day to day? The change in the population, the impact of refugees, the fact that Jordan has been a country that has constantly been receiving people from outside and has constantly tried to move forward with no natural resources?
Well, I think recently we've had a flood of Iraqi refugees. Maybe last summer we had some Lebanese come to the country. So personally, I feel the economic change, actually it stimulated the economic change, but it suffers from, like, the rich have gotten maybe richer because there has been some money traffic going on, but people who are economically challenged are suffering more because everything is more expensive now. They can't afford anything they used to. Jordan is a very sensitive area within the Middle East. It's like a bumper between Israel and Lebanon, Iraq, everywhere else. So we act as a safe place, right. A safe haven for the rest of
some sort of refuge as well.
Yes.
If someone asks you what is a place like Jordan like to live in, what do you answer them?
I'm sorry.
What if someone asks you, what is Jordan like as a place to live in? How is it like living in Amman, for example, living in Jordan? What would you tell them?
3 words maybe: expensive, safe, and beautiful.
Beautiful. Okay. I have a question for you about the way things have been going here now. We were looking at the 40th anniversary of the Six-Day War. Okay. Of course, this is something that's been going on, I mean, before any of you were born. So how do you relate to it as a Jordanian?
You know, it's like a continuous thing, you know. If I look at it back and I look at it now, I think things are going better in Jordan, especially in Jordan. But if you look around, I believe, you know, if things stay like this way, things are going worse. You know, if you look at Lebanon, if you look at Palestine, Iraq, Iran, Syria, things are going bad, you know. But, you know, thanks God, in Jordan, I believe things are going, since that day and now, it's going all right. It's going good. Yeah.
Wad, I should ask you, because you've actually come into Jordan from Ramallah. Yeah. So this isn't your home as such. You have your home outside, and you're dealing directly with the Israeli-Palestinian situation. I wonder how you now, again, being a young woman, when people say it's the 40th anniversary of the Six-Day War, how does it resonate with you as a Palestinian?
Well, as a Palestinian, we've been affected by many crises since many years. In many cities in Ramallah, in Palestine, the situation is deteriorating. It's not getting better.
You feel it day to day?
Yeah, I feel it's deteriorating in Gaza especially because things, there's no peace coming up, there's nothing better coming up, but I think that there is hope in the Palestinian youth.
There is hope?
Yes, I guess so, because as a Palestinian youth, I feel that nowadays Palestinian youth are given many opportunities. They're given opportunities to enhance themselves, and I am sure that they have the potential, but they only need the means to achieve their goals. And that's why I feel that there will be hope in the future of Palestine, because there's hope in their youth.
Habiba, you're also someone who's come in from outside. You come from Egypt, and you're in Jordan. First of all, I mean, your impression when you look at Jordan, comparing it with your life in Egypt, well, how does it strike you?
Well, definitely there are similarities. There are a lot of differences as well. For an example, a very big difference is the population between Egypt and Jordan. For example, in Egypt, it's a lot more crowded. There are a lot more people. I guess here in Jordan, it is a safe haven. Like Luma said, it is where a lot of people come in to seek, to find safety for their own securities, similar to Egypt. But I guess they would choose to come to Jordan because there are less people here. At the same time, there are many differences. As in Egypt is more diverse with its culture. There are more foreigners in Egypt, I guess, than there are in Jordan.
So, Habiba, to what extent, being in Egypt, Egypt again, having found its sort of sense of peace with Israel, how isolated are you from what's going on here in this part of the Middle East, where, of course, they're dealing with the conflicts much more directly?
Okay, I think isolated is not exactly the word we would use, because as Middle Easterns, we're influenced directly by our surroundings. We're obviously living in the heart of the region, and so there's direct influence. As Egyptians, there's a political side to it, where we do have our peace with the Israelis, and therefore we have to look at it from two different perspectives, and so it makes it more difficult for us as individuals, and we would have to choose which side we would lean towards, if you understand what I mean.
So Mamoun, how do you regard Jordan's peace treaty with Israel? What has it done for Jordan? Is it a good thing or a bad thing in your opinion?
The peace, is the peace with Israel, it has many sides. First, we gained our security. We are safe here in Jordan. We're the safest spot in the whole Middle East, you can say. But in the other way, you have a huge from the people from the high, they're against this peace.
You think there's a lot of people in Jordan against it?
Not a lot of people, but there's an amount of people, a percentage of people that they're against because of the conflict with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and also for religious stuff that we have some different.
Some differences.
Yeah,
well,
some differences with that, how we deal with this thing in a religious way or in the other way.
Right.
Yeah, in the politics way.
Luma, if I could ask you a question here. When it comes to what's happening in Palestine, the Palestinian territories with Gaza, the way things are going, how do you, here in Jordan, how much worry is there that could spill over, considering how many Palestinians there are in Jordan?
Actually, we're very worried that it would spill over. I think we are safe temporarily until, personally, I feel until it is no longer beneficial to Israel. As long as Israel is threatening Palestine, then they could be threatening anyone else. Jordan, as I said, is a bumper for every other country. So it is very important for Israel to stay safe with Jordan, because because we are the boundary between them and every other country. If Jordan is invaded, then the other countries could come through Jordan into Israel and start a war. So I believe as long as Israel thinks it's beneficial for them, then the peace will stay.
One thing that people are obviously talking about a lot here is the number of Iraqis that have come in since 2003, and I wonder how the shift is in the emotion of the Jordanian people about the number of Iraqis coming in. What's the mood, towards Iraqis now?
Well, first of all, we did really feel sad about the Iraqis. What happened in Iraq. We really felt bad for that, and then after I believe that the huge amounts of Iraqis coming here to Jordan, I believe somehow it's a nice thing that we brought Iraqis over here, as their second home now is Jordan. I believe I really felt bad for what happened, and I believe Jordan did a good thing. And as my friend over here Lama said, the things that, as she said, rich people, they become richer and stuff. They did influence Jordan somehow. It's good for the economy and it's good for the whole country. But sometimes some people, they did, it's an advantage, and for other people it's a very disadvantage.
Well, of course, initially you had the flood of people who had the money, who could leave and could come and put in $100,000 into the bank and get passports and so on. But I wonder now, obviously you have people who are escaping the troubles, who have nowhere else to go. How is that changing the makeup of the society in Jordan? Is there a concern?
We're getting used to it. We're getting used to it. When the bombing thing happened in Jordan, we were shaken a little bit, and because sadly some of them were Iraqis. That a little bit made like a small distance, but the recovery process was really fast. We got used to it, and everything, like, we let it flow. Everything is on flow now. Everything is fine.
A question for all of you, and I'll go around and I just want to get your impression, starting with you, Yazid, actually.
Okay, yeah.
An impression on what young Arabs such as yourselves think about America now. What is the view of America?
Well, myself personally, I've been there many times, and I've lived there for a while. It's not about Americans. It's about the U.S. government. Myself, I believe Americans. Everybody's nice. Everybody, they have their own ways of doing things. But I believe the U.S. government is not implementing things right. They do have great plans, ideas, but I think the implementation is not right. They say something, it sounds good, but the implementation sometimes is not really good.
Mahmoud?
Well, as Yazid said, it's not with the American people, it's the government. I think that they gone too far with the violence. They gone too far with the army. It's not everything that can be solved with armies and with wars. This is how we see it, that America is always looking forward for the war. But I also been there, but American people are different. So we're dealing with the government. So, Iraq, especially in the Middle East, they used a lot of violence. So we just want them to stop this.
So Luma, what is the most misunderstood thing about Americans here then? I mean, generally there's a positive view towards the American people. It's the government that people seem to have an issue with. So that, most American people don't really know this. I think they think of Arabs thinking of Americans badly.
Yes, we also believe that Americans think Arabs think they're bad, but also it's vice versa. I'm also against the government. I have nothing against the American people, but the American government has done a very good job of making the Americans afraid of Arabs. I think Americans in general have an idea that all Arabs are terrorists. Maybe not all of them, maybe most of them, maybe some of them, but the idea is out there. So for us, it's not comfortable to be dealing with Americans since they think in such a negative way about us.
There has been, though, a trend among young people in the Middle East, and we're seeing it a lot among Palestinians as well, a sense of, perhaps there is not the hope, when they don't see the peace treaties working out, when it seems to be conflict after conflict, there seems to be a lot who are drawn towards more religious extremism. How much do you see that among young Palestinians? They turn to religion and perhaps, the risk of them taking extreme action.
Well, you're talking about Palestinian youth. I think that they're doing a great job in Palestine nowadays, but they're not being portrayed in the good image to other countries. That's why I think that the media should focus more on Palestinians and on the good things Palestinians do nowadays, because they are really improving themselves. They're really doing real good things, but we're only focusing on politics. We're focusing on not terrorists, but we're focusing on certain parties in Palestine and certain crises in Palestine, and not on the good things, positive things Palestinians are doing nowadays.
So it's not truly representative of what's happening, you feel?
No, there is no truly representative.
Yazid?
Yes. Can I have the mic, please? Well, as my friends over here said, I believe, sometimes I don't blame Americans of what they think about us sometimes, because as we said, media is really important, because first impression is the first, let's say, image. When I look at TV and watch what happens, as she said, Luma and Habiba, they see the bad side, or let's say they make it look bad. They don't, let's say, the media, they don't show the good side. They don't show young kids being killed. They don't show women getting killed as well, or mistreated. They show just the the bad image, you know. They don't show the good part. They don't show the youth. They didn't show what's going on, really, what's going on. So when anybody sees this, you know, just he'll say, okay, they're all terrorists, you know. We should do something. We should bring out something. We should let Americans, we should let know everybody that we're normal people, we're good people, you know. Everywhere. They do have a bad image about us.
I have a question for Luma, actually, if you could pass the microphone over. I was surprised coming back to Amman after some time with how many young women are wearing hijab, how many have decided to cover their heads now. It seems far more than when I was here just a couple of years ago. Why is that?
Well, I haven't really noticed that. To me, it's the same. But women here, maybe they're feeling more afraid. Maybe they're feeling more closer to God. They want to feel, if not safe politically, or if not safe generally, they want to feel closer to God, maybe, so they can have their own spiritual peace. Yeah.
Well, Yazid, Mamoun, Luma, Arif, Habiba and Waad, thank you very much for this discussion here. There was our young Arab panel talking about where the Middle East and Jordan might be in the near future. Thank you for being with us, and stay tuned for more on Al Jazeera.